Okay, so today I'm going to be replacing the oil cooler gaskets and O-ring on my 92 Toyota 4runner. It's the V6 with the 3VZ engine. Oh, where's the... Oh, never mind. I was going to show you where it says it, but whatever. The 3.0 liter V6. This one comes with the oil cooler. Now, you can't see it yet. So first what you have to do is remove the front skid plate right there. Mine just has 4 bolts. There's 2 bolts down there where those little studs are coming out of, and then 2 bolts up here. Then you gotta drain the oil, of course. So that's just one 15mm bolt for the drain plug. Then you gotta undo the filter, which is tucked up in there. Yeah, I don't know if you can see, it's like the gold frame filter. Next there's this heat shield. Hopefully I'm talking loud enough. I usually have the habit of talking too quiet into the camera. But there's this heat shield right here that you gotta remove so you can get to the oil cooler, because the oil cooler is just right behind it. And I noticed that's leaking pretty good. Because I notice if I leave it sitting in one spot idling, I'll get a little puddle of oil about that big just for about a minute of sitting there idling. I figured it probably have to put in like half a quart of oil like every 2 weeks, and I don't even really drive it that much. So I removed the skid plate, drained the oil. Now I'm going to be taking off the oil filter. So yeah, so now I'm going to take off that this heat shield right here, back here, which is just held on by 3 bolts. I think it's like 2 bolts on this side, 1 bolt on that side. I believe they're like 10 or 12mm. Pretty easy to get to. Once I get that off, jack it up, take this tire off just so I have more room to get my impact gun in there, and take off the oil cooler. Also, what you're gonna have to do is, because the oil is cooled through the coolant, through the cooling system, so there's, I believe, 2 hoses that you have to undo. So you're gonna have to probably drain the, I don't know if you have to drain the radiator or not, but I'm gonna do that anyways, because this coolant's pretty old and murky now. So yeah, but so let me get the inside. No, I can't see the dust shield. Oh, well, anyways, there's 1 bolt for the dust shield right here, and then there's 2 other ones on the other side of the front drive line. Okay, so now that I took the oil filter off, got the tire off, and that little dust shield or heat shield, whatever that was. Now you can see this round thing right here with the bolt in the middle of it. I don't know how well you can see it. This is the oil cooler. So it's leaking, probably, I can't get to where you can see it's leaking, but you can see it drips down through the middle of that, and it drips down all the way around. So we have to take this off. There's 2 hoses. There's this one right here, which just looks like those cheap hose clamps where you just pinch and pull. And there's another hose clamp on this one right here, because there's another hose that leads, I guess, up to the water pump. And then this is the one that leads, I'm guessing, into the engine block. So you gotta take those 2 off, and then it's just this 1 big bolt, I believe, that holds the oil cooler onto the engine block. Kind of a tight squeeze. I don't know who ever put this hose clamp on, kind of put it at a weird angle, because it's facing down, so I don't know how I'm going to get to that. These ones are pretty easy. It looks like just I can get pliers in there and just pop that off. So yeah, that's what I'm going to do now. Kind of really tight space. I mean, even with the oil filter, fucking hard to get off. But yeah, so I'm going to try to get those 2 coolant hoses off, and then I'll turn the camera back on before I take off the actual cooler itself, just so you can see that. Alrighty, so I got the the bottom coolant hose off, the one that runs to the water pump. So if you're planning on doing this, it's either probably smart to just drain the radiator first, but I didn't have like a big enough another drain pan to hold all that. So I just figured I'd use these plastic just gallon water jugs. The hose, at least on my car, is long enough to where you pull it off if you route it the right way around the steering. It'll go straight into the jug. You just got to put it on I just put it on these 2 bricks, and that way it just drains straight into the jug. As you can see, I don't know if you can tell, but this coolant is pretty much just like a murky brown, barely even green, so yeah, not good. So I'm glad I'm going to be replacing it. I know it says that you're supposed to use like the Toyota red coolant with this engine, but I'm too much of a cheapskate to go buy like the $40 a gallon OEM coolant from the dealership, because you need like, I think the owner's manual says that this engine with manual transmission requires 10 liters, which is about, what is it, about like 2 gallons? 2.5 gallons worth. So I didn't feel like going and spending a shit ton of money on that. So I just bought some new Prestone antifreeze coolant, whatever, full strength. It was like 12 bucks at Walmart. So I figured it should be, good enough. I mean, the previous owner had it in there and it doesn't look like there's any rust or anything. Just very dirty brown coolant. So now that I got that bottom hose off, I just got this top little tiny hose right here, and then I'll be taking off that big bolt. I believe it's like a 24 millimeter 24 millimeter bolt that I'm just going to use my impact gun on. But yeah, so now I have to find some pliers that I have that'll fit up in there and clamp that hose. I hate those hose clamps, they're so cheap. But yeah, so that's the next step. Next time I cut back, I should be taking off the actual cooler itself. Okay, so got the oil cooler off. This is it right here, sitting on these rags. Pick it up so you can see the light. Let me try to find some light. Okay, so this is it. There's just that one bolt, like I said, it was 24 millimeter that goes through the middle. And then there's one 14 millimeter bolt that goes right here in this bracket, which I'm pretty sure you can't see because the lighting sucks. So that right there, I'm trying to see, point my finger, this little bracket. That's where it went on that other little, I don't know what you'd call it, but right on the side of the engine block. That's where the top hose went. I pulled that one off because when I pulled it off, I noticed, I don't know if you can see in there, it looks like a bunch of clay. So I'm hoping that this oil cooler's still good. I'm gonna try to flush it out with my hose. So that was all clogged, and I pulled off that top hose, and this is that top hose right here, which was a bitch to get off. But you can't see it, but it is completely clogged with just looks like mud and rust. So that kind of worries me. So I was hoping there was no rust or anything in the engines, but once I pulled this off, it seemed to, coolant seemed to came out of that little, I guess you'd call it a nipple. So it poured out, looked pretty clean. Well, it didn't look all rusty, so I'm thinking maybe that didn't get into the engine too much. So I'm going to blow that out with a hose, and the oil cooler with the hose. Alright, so I was just trying to clean up the oil cooler the best I could. I wish I had like a nylon brush or wire brush because there's some like really caked on oil all over the outside of it. But let's see if I can get over to the light here and see if you can see that pretty good. Hopefully that's coming in good. So like I said, there's the O-ring that goes around this lip right here. I got that at the Toyota dealership. I don't know if you can see that. I'm sorry, but guys, it's horrible lighting out here. Maybe if I get all in the shade, it'll... Nope. Maybe right there? Okay, you can probably see that pretty good there. So anyways, this is the part number. I don't know if you can see it. It's 90301-61003, and that is the O-ring. Like I said, it goes in this part right here along this, and then there's another gasket. I pulled it out already. That goes inside this little hole, and that part number is 222-15785-35010. Yeah, and then so got those at the Toyota dealership. Like I said, I couldn't find them at any of the local part stores. They weren't too bad. I think this one was like $1.50 and this one was like $6. The O-ring was $6, and then the little gasket was like $1.50 or something. So yeah, I cleaned that out. The rust or the mud, I'm just gonna call it clay because it looked like clay that was in the water part. That came right out, so that's free. And then I just try to degrease it. There's some water mixed with oil and degreaser, which I'm trying to get the most out of it as I can, but I figure there's probably not that much in there, so it won't really affect the whole oil system if there's like a couple drops of water mixed with or oil degreaser. I hope not, at least. But what do I know? I'm not a chemist. So yeah, I already showed you that. So now I'm gonna put the basically just put it all back together. You just gotta be careful. That O-ring was kind of hard to get out. You have to just use like a little pair of needle nose pliers to pull it out. Again, I tried to clean the seat that the O-ring sits on as best I could with the tools that I had. I wish I had some like really fine grit sandpaper or something, or some like a nylon brush to really get off. There's some like caked on little black stuff, but I think it should be better than what it was. Anyway, so this is the old O-ring that was on it, and you can see it's pretty tore up and pretty flat, so I'm pretty sure that's what was causing the massive oil leak. I wouldn't say massive, but it was a pretty decent sized oil leak. But I wouldn't be surprised if something else is leaking from that engine. Doesn't look like the previous owners took too good care of it, so. But it's a truck, so, and it's an old Toyota. But yeah, now I'm gonna put it on. Might put some, maybe film some couple clips of that, but it's basically just the same process in reverse. You know how it goes.